To all the geeks and nerds out there, today I'd like to talk about some new features that I'd like to see added to Minecraft. Now that 1.14 is out of the way, we can turn our attention to 1.15 and what possible features we might want to add. So in a recent episode of my single player series, I built this. This is my spawn area, and this is Hill Valley, the central town in the movie Back to the Future. And yeah, it's turned out pretty well, but there are some issues, and in particular the issue of lighting. Look at this floor. I've got carpet everywhere, and this is to hide the lighting. So I was inspired by a video recently by CubFan135 where he talks about some lighting options and how to improve lighting. So I'd like to riff off of that video and take it a bit further and yeah, talk about it a bit more. So there'll be a link in the description to go and check that out first. But yeah, let's get into this thing. As this is a spawn area for my single player world in my series Beyond Logic, it's really important that this area is all safe. And the way we make things safe, of course, in Minecraft is to light things up. The last thing I want to do is end up dying and then coming back here and yeah, be greeted by a whole bunch of mobs. So that is no good. So what I've tried to do here with this build is to light things up as best I can. And what I've done here is I've hidden some lighting underneath these carpets, hidden some glowstone. But of course, as you can see here, these carpets don't look all that great in a road. It'll be much better if we could somehow make this safe without these carpets being here. Now, as I spoke about in the intro, CubFan did a video where his basic idea was to throw down some glowstone on the floor like this, and the block that it lands on, that glowstone will then be imbued in that block to make that block light emitting. Now, yeah, that's really good. Really like that idea, but I'd like to take it a bit further. And so my first change would be to make this a crafting recipe rather than dropping items onto the floor. So the same kind of concept is you'd have the block in the middle that you want to imbue with light, that you want to make light emitting, and you get your glowstone. And as you add glowstone around the edge, the more glowstone you add, the higher the level of light that will be emitted from this block. So if we just have one glowstone, then it will emit a light level of 8. And then for every glowstone you add, we'll add one more, all the way up to a level of 15. And now that I've crafted a few blocks, you can see underneath it will tell you what the light level is of that particular block. So we can keep these separate in our inventory, and yeah, we can decide what kind of light level we want to use. And then over here, I've taken out the lights that I did have before, and now I can place these lights inside here. So we're just placing down the concrete, and now it's lighting up this area, as you can see. And so this is looking much, much better. So let's just get this last one in over here. And now if I look down this road here, it looks much better, right? No carpets in sight. So yeah, much, much better, much, much more improved. But yeah, I want to take this a bit further. So this was basically what CubFan's idea was. And yeah, it's really good, as I said. But yeah, let's take it a bit further. So let me just scoot up here into the sky so you can see. And of course, now we have this kind of pattern here on the floor. And yeah, in terms of immersion, well, it's safe. But who ever heard of a road that glows? I don't think any roads around my way glow. What about you? But no, so what I'd really like to happen here is I want this to be safe, but I don't want it to look like this. I don't want it to look like it's glowing. What I really want to be able to do is have this, for example, have this lamp right here. And I want to be able to make it look like there's some light coming around here, around this lamp, and have the rest of this road all nice and dark, but all the time be nice and safe. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'd like to introduce a new concept, which is Blacklight. What is Blacklight, I hear you ask? Well, it's a real life thing, and another name you might have heard of is ultraviolet light. And so this gives us some problems in the real world. This is the part of the sunlight that gives us issues. That's why we have to wear sun cream, that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I thought maybe we could use this mechanism to control mob spawning. Maybe it's the ultraviolet light part of the spectrum that stops mobs from spawning. So here we have some glowstone that we have in the nether. So what about if there was another block similar to this that we could find somewhere else that would emit black light, ultraviolet light instead of normal light? If we're going to add a new block to the game that emits ultraviolet light, then what better place to put it than the end? We already have a whole bunch of purple or violet coloured stuff over here. We have the purple, we have the chorus fruit, and of course the endermen themselves also have that kind of touch of purple about them. So how about we had this new block, this violet stone block that generates in the world just like glowstone does in the nether, and over here we can use a silk touch pick just like we can for the glowstone to get the block itself, or use a normal pick, and when you break this block we now get a new item, and this item, as you can see here, is called violet stone dust. So I've mined up a whole bunch of violet stone and also some violet stone dust, and of course that's one way to get it. But I think all this stuff should also be farmable, and yeah, we should be able to get it another way. So imagine we have a whole bunch of Endermen, and as we know at the moment, Endermen will drop ender pearls when you kill them. But what about if they drop something else as well? So I've got a looting sword here that's a max looting, so we get a whole bunch of drops to show. But if I was to kill some Endermen, now they drop not only ender pearls, but also violet stone dust. And to keep things consistent with glowstone, we should also be able to craft up a violet stone block from violet stone dust, just like that. Now we've got a bunch of this violet stone dust. What can we do with it? Well, you guessed it, we can add it around another block so that this block now emits ultraviolet light. And of course, just like we did with the glowstone, the more violet stone you add around, the higher the level. So all the way up to 15 if you add 8 violet stone dust, just like this. Now in terms of the crafting recipe, I'm thinking that maybe the central block here is not any block in the game. Maybe it's only solid full cubes that this works with. But once you've done this, once you've crafted it up, you've then got a block that's imbued with ultraviolet light that we can put down that will stop mob spawning, but we won't be able to see the light it emits. And just as we had when we imbued normal light into blocks, we showed the light level, and we do the same thing here where we show the blacklight level. So this one's got a blacklight level of 11, and this one is a blacklight level of 15. So we can control really well where mob spawns and what blocks we cover with this ultraviolet light. And we're back at Hill Valley at the segment of road we were looking at before, and I've done a couple of things. So first of all, underneath this lamppost, I've added some of the blocks that we imbued with normal light, so you can see, we can actually see the light here, and it looks like this lamp is lighting up this area, so this is much more immersive than we had before. And I've also added some of the blocks that we imbued with ultraviolet light into the road itself, and so this is now safe. Mobs won't spawn because of the ultraviolet light, but because it's ultraviolet, we can't see it. And so now this road looks much more immersive, and it looks much better, I think. So this is a really great option for builders, and yeah, allows you to be much more creative with what we do with light. There is, of course, one drawback. If I want to now mine up this block and find it again, how do I do that? Because now it's so well hidden, it's very hard to make out how to get it back again. But I have a solution, and that is the visor. I'm standing underneath the lamppost where it's nice and bright, and I've got the visor in hand. And yeah, you wear this just like you would wear a helmet. So let's just pop it on and check me out. I'm wearing this visor. And now if I look around, we'll see the world in a whole new light. And now with the visor on, things are looking a little bit funky. So as you can see here, the visor has allowed us to very easily see which blocks are imbued with light, whether it's normal light like we've got underneath the lamp there, or it's this the ultraviolet imbued like the blacklight ones as well. So we can easily find them again, easily mine them up if we need to, and move them around. So that makes that nice and straightforward. Also, the other thing this visor does is show you the general light level. So if you see some red, that means that mobs can spawn, and if it's kind of yellow, then it's getting towards that level, and of course any other color is just fine. So this allows us then to see where mobs can spawn, so it allows us to make our builds nice and safe, nice and secure, and make sure we light up all the areas that we need to. Now I'd like to introduce you to one more item, and that solves a problem that 1.14 has given us. And so with 1.14, the lighting engine has been revisited, and yeah, we can no longer do this. So in previous versions, we used to be able to put a couple of slabs down like this, and the light would not be able to get through. And yeah, the room behind would then stay dark, and so mobs would be able to spawn. And this is a really good way for us to look into our farm to see what's going on. But now that light can come in 1.14, it really affects that. But I'd really like a way to be able to have a good viewing window to our farm, but not let light through. So the way we're going to do that is a new item. And how do we do this? Well, with our crafting recipe before, we said that the central block should be a full cube, and it should be opaque. But what about if we were to mix it with some black glass instead? So this will give us a new item. And here is that new block. It's the block of Sunglass, you know, like sunglasses. So this block is just like glass in that we can see through it, but it does not let any kind of light through at all. And so, yeah, we can use this. So let's just see what it looks like. So if I put down some black stained glass over here, it looks like that. And hopefully you'll be able to see this. There's a little change. Now these on the sunglass, it looks exactly the same as black stained glass, but the little flecks here have got a little bit of purple in them, a little bit of violet, you know. So that's how you can tell the difference between black glass and the sunglass. So if we break this, now what we can do is we can put this down instead of these slabs and see how it affects this farm. And now with the black glass in place, it's dark inside and the mobs have started spawning again, and we get a nice big viewing window so we can see exactly what goes on inside. So I think this can have various uses. This is one use, of course, and I think that will give us a whole bunch of options for other things. But I think there is one more thing we can use this sunglass for. And to demonstrate, I've come on over to the end where my end base is, and there is something here that's been bugging me for a long time and I'd really like to fix it. But I think this sunglass can really do the trick. So on top of my base here, the Death Star, we have some beacon beams coming out. So on the inside of this Death Star, I have a whole bunch of beacons, and they look really cool inside, but on the outside, there's no way to stop the beam, and it just goes up into space, and we end up with these beams shooting up. Now I'll try my best to hide them by colouring them kind of similar to the background, but of course you can still see them. So what would be super nice is if we could put down some sunglass somewhere in this beam, and it would cut the beam off. So the beacon would still work and we'd still have a beam up until the sunglass, but then the sunglass, because it blocks light, it would stop the light going any further, but would keep the beam working. So let's put this in here and see what it might look like. This of course now looks super good on the outside. There's no beacon beams getting in the way because we've blocked them with the sunglass. But if we hop inside, we can still see the beams working. And here is the beacon beam inside working as normal, so we still get that cool effect, but we don't have it outside where we don't need it. Now of course this could have some other uses. I've seen people where they use beacons to have like a door that's made of laser beams, but unfortunately you need to have the laser beams going all the way up into the sky. So I think it gives us a load of creative options, and we can use beacon beams for more creative things rather than just what we're using for now. And before we wrap up, I'd just like to thank Cubfan again for his video that inspired me to make this one. And I've taken it a step further. Maybe it's a step too far, but I think it's interesting to get these kind of ideas out there and spark some discussion. And let's think about what other things we can use this for. So maybe another property of Blacklight is that it doesn't melt ice or snow, that kind of thing. But what other things could we do? What other options have we got? What other properties can Blacklight have? So let's get those discussions going. Let's get the stuff in the comments. Let me know what you think. That would be really cool. So of course this was just a demo, just a mock-up in a backup of my single player world. And if you're interested in these builds like this Enterprise or the Death Star, that kind of thing, then check out my playlist for Beyond Logic, where we go through that in a Let's Play series. And of course, I've got some other 1.15 ideas in the background cooking away that I'm thinking about. So if you found this interesting and would like to see some more of those things, then let me know, get them in the comments section. And if you've got any ideas, then again, start sharing them around, and maybe we can come up with some good ideas to share around in the community. So if you enjoyed this video, then please hit the like button. And if you're new, then feel free to subscribe. And if you've got more comments, suggestions, feedback, any of that kind of stuff, then get it in that comment section. All right, my geeks, until next time, I will see you later.